Yeah, basically, I think that we're paying more than we need to pay for water and sewer. I go back to when I originally moved here. My water and sewer were $24, and then they raised them to $51, and that was a 112% increase. At that time, I talked to Steve, and he said, well, they needed the money because they had projects that were coming up and they didn't have a reserve fund. Made sense. So now we're at a point where I was looking at the budget for 2016, and the water budget had a profit of $128,000, and the sewer had a projected profit of $588 for $713. I'm proposing a 10% reduction on water and a 30% reduction on sewer. I think that would still give profit to water in a year's time of $34,000 and a profit of $168,000 for the sewer. Right now we have, according to the budget, $2,434,000 in water and $2,264,000 in sewer. This money can only be spent on sewer and water projects. It can be linked to the government, to the city for other purposes, but they have to pay it back. So I really think that this would be a good thing. Since this rate would increase, I haven't saw very, very few new businesses in the city. I think we have a lot to offer people, but when our rates are as high or higher than other communities, we are left behind. Therefore, I think it would be, in the best interest of the city to do this, because I think it would create more businesses and maybe keep some of the businesses that are close to going out of business in business. I heard some people that if the water rates go up, then they won't be able to maintain their business. And I think it's time to pay back the citizens. This would also, I think, we need a reserve for both of the accounts. This rate would not reduce the amount of reserve. In fact, these rates would still give the water company estimated $34,000 in profit, and the sewer $164,000 in profit. And I just don't see why we're keeping that money where we're at when the people, I think we could draw more businesses if we had some lower rates. And that's what I'd like to discuss tonight. If anyone has any questions about my numbers or where I got them or what I'm thinking about, I'm glad to take them now.
Any questions, Scott?
One thing is this is not profit. This is money that the city takes in and everything else to run the business of sewer and water. It's not profit.
Well,
we're not making a profit off that. We're making, like you said before, reserves. We're looking for reserves or anything else. And if would, Mr. Brown, I'd rather have Greg look at this and see what he's got to say and everything else too, because I understand the water rates actually aren't high enough to pay for what's coming in and everything else, the money going out. Is that true, or can you let Greg comment on that, or what?
Greg can comment on that. He's on vacation, won't be back until August 3rd. This is his every year he takes vacation. He's not in the office and he's not responding to emails. So it would be the second meeting in August before he would be able to speak with
that
That's
cash on,
total,
is that cash on hand?
That includes some CDs, that includes the O&M account, that includes some other, that's not, but that's the total combined numbers, they're pretty close.
But that's not just operating fund, that's our reserve fund, that's our deposit fund.
Right.
That's all water.
A little bit of CD money, now those numbers aren't large, but they're there.
So, when recently we had to pull all the pipe and everything down in the well at the park, how much did that cost the city?
I think it was right about 30, 27, 28, something like that.
So that would be a whole year's profit by this amount?
Yes, because, we budget for things like that, but that was a pretty significant expenditure at that one time there. We also had another one this morning, lightning hit well house 5, burnt the electrical panels right off the side of the building. So that's going to be a fairly expensive repair also. That just happened this morning. I don't know what that cost is yet, but electrical, the meters themselves, they're gone. They melted down to nothing. And that's 3-phase, so that's going to be another unexpected. Those may do occur.
So we're gonna be past our $34,000 profit for the whole year in the water department.
Well, there's only, in the figures that I gave you, there was, for the water fund, in the budget, it was budgeted $170,000, and that was reduced, I mean, included in the expenses, okay? And the other one had 190, the sewer had $198,000. So those things were capital, I guess that's what you're talking about. So that was also included in the total expense of there, and so the profit was there. So the information he's talking out of could come out of those accounts as well.
Right, except in the sewer, that money you said, you're talking about in capital, we spent that on generators.
Yeah, they got 198,000 in capital.
A lot of that, more than half that's been spent on generators already. Some blowers were purchased. So the capital is different than our operating budget and maintenance.
Right.
The capital budget, we're spending that money.
Right, and that for the things that you're talking about right now. Right. That's what I was trying to answer. And, as far as profit, maybe it's not profit, but the books call it net. If you want to call it net instead of profit, that's fine, but it's still, that it was larger than it was last year by those.
Revenue over expenditures.
Pardon?
Greg usually refers to it as revenue over expenditures or.
Rex, did you have something you
Yeah, as far as DNR, then it's always gonna keep getting stricter on our sewers and our water.
But that's always the norm.
Yes.
And historically they have. Right now to say we have a large expenditure on some sort of regulatory compliance issue, that's not true right now. But I'm sure that there'll be some other compliance issues in the future sometime. I can't tell you what that's going to be.
There's been several companies, water companies were sold out because they cannot meet or don't have the money to meet these DNR regulations when they come in.
You don't get an abundance of time to get things corrected
No.
up, and it's this needs to be fixed, so you've gotta get it done, so you better have the money in the reserve, so we're only looking at 34,000 profit per year. Build that up, and that could eat us all up at, one big swoop.
Well, wouldn't that clarifier like $750,000 or we're almost paid off, it's almost paid off?
We have one more payment on the ultraviolet
Ultraviolet.
disinfection system, and then both systems will be debt free. They will.
So that doesn't mean they won't come in again. And what was the price of that clarifier?
$750 is a number I want to throw
So
out.
$750,000, which would, if you paid for it right out, you're talking it would take about 1/3 of the sewer budget to pay for it.
Even if we did a payment plan, the initial part of it, you usually have to pay a large portion first, and then, so even if we had to come up with 250,000, that's gonna eat up.
And I've heard several citizens say, well, should be borrowing money, should be borrowing money. But then we have some say, well, you should cut that. So which one is it? Do you want to keep your reserves up so you don't have to borrow money to pay for the stuff? Or do you want to cut it and have to borrow money, then possibly raise rates again to make the payments on it?
And that's, the thing is, we don't want to get in a position that have to raise rates at 112.5%.
No.
We don't want to get in that position ever again.
But right now, we're in a much better position than we were
Right,
then because of the amount of reserves. we have.
Absolutely, but again, they, another clarifier, and I've heard from most cities that DNR, they come in, and I don't know much about it, and they say, if you're gonna do this, it could be several $100,000, like this clarifier was $750,000. Well, like I said, that's gonna take almost about 1/3 of the budget up.
I don't know, but someone told me from talking to people that we also got a grant for some of that money, didn't we, to help pay off that from the clarifiers?
We got a loan to pay that off.
Oh, we didn't get a grant at all?
I don't think we got a grant at all for that.
Okay, and that loan will be paid off this year? Okay. So this year, there'd be another $190,000 going in there that won't be next year on the budget. That's, I mean, what do you think about bringing businesses in? I mean, you guys are talking about what may happen, what may happen. Well, I'm talking about what may happen with businesses.
How are our rates compared to our neighboring cities?
We're lower than all of our neighboring cities right now. We actually just had a resident just called me the other day. She is moving to Festus. The first $1,000,
1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons, yeah, $1,000. The first 1,000 gallons is like a set amount of $23, I think. And then the second $1,000 is $15 gallons, is $15, and then it goes up every $1,000 from then. Or 1,000 gallons, gosh, thousands, we're talking dollars, so I keep saying that. So, and theirs goes up for every 1,000 gallons, that expensive, and ours is what, $3 and some change?
Sewer is 35 something.
But a resident doesn't pay that based off sewer, they pay based off flat
It's
rate.
$15.67, I believe, for the base minimum charge for water right now. That's up to 2,000 gallons. It's $15.67 or somewhere around
But
there.
I think their sewer bills are based off water consumption.
Once they reach so much, yeah, and it goes up.
Mr. Jeffers stated we were higher than our neighbors.
We're not.
We were lower than our
We're
neighbors.
considerably lower.
And I want to keep our water rates as low as possible, but again, it's really,
Excuse me, sir.
it's really nice to turn your faucet on and you have nice clean water. To me, you don't like the taste of it sometimes. I don't bother me. But it's as good as anybody else's in this area. You flush the toilet, it goes. And very few times do we ever have any problems with our water or sewer. Occasionally we have sewer breaks. I think they've been using a stitch farm to take care of most of that stuff. I would just hate to see a possibility even going in a hole or anything, or even coming close to it. It's always nice to have reserves. Most people don't have the option at home to have a large amount of reserves to do things, but this is a business. We need to make sure we have these reserves for things that may or may not come back. And also, talk about businesses, I believe since the water rates went up, we've had more businesses come in than we've lost. I think we're at a plus on our businesses coming in.
On that, that's why American Water came in, because they purchased Arnold's up that way, the sewer plant, and they're purchasing other ones around too. That way, as we talk about DNR and EPA and everything else, you don't have to worry about that anymore, because with all the restrictions going on, it's getting more and more. And
I don't believe that. I work for a company that had to deal with DNR. They subcontracted out their water treatment system so that they wouldn't have any issues, and it came right back to them. When those guys messed up, the company was still liable.
if you sell it, it's not yours, so it doesn't come back to the city.
We didn't know, but it was our water that went through the system.
So it won't be our water either, because if we sell the system, it's theirs, water and sewer system.
But the difference between Arnold's sewers were in horrendous shape. Our systems are not. We had good systems.
We have some issues, but not.
No, we have very few issues with water or very few with sewers. And I know Arnold, they hadn't raised their sewer rates in years. Their infrastructures were poor at best. So there's a big difference between that. And I understand what you're saying too, Steve. I understand that too. That it takes a lot of liability off of us.
asbestos, and they really balked about it, so, I can't see why we would want to lower our rates.
Herculaneum wants to go run, their rates are going up.
Yeah, they buy so much a year, for a year and it's passed on.
I know that the KC all down in Festus had to put a filter system on the main line as it came in their building, and then on every appliance, like their ice makers and everything. And every month they're having to change them because the health department has come out and they continue to get black residue in their ice cubes from Festus water. So I mean, you know, we have an elite system here, and
I just don't want 10 years from now, some board having to double rates, or 8 years from now, and the same uproar that we got when board raised the rates.
Isn't that not what American said the other night? They said they didn't raise the rates in Arnold, and then a year and a half later, they raised it.
Yeah, but it takes a year and a half. It takes at least a
So
year.
raising rates is raising rates.
Whether it's done now or a year and a half from now.
Well, and it also needs to be due diligence on every board. We are not in the business of water, but we need to remember this is a business. We can't just say we're not going to raise the rates because we don't want to hurt the citizens. Of course, we don't want to hurt the citizens, but at the same time, we have to do our due diligence and look and see what's in the best interest of the city. So you guys, you know, need to decide, is it in the best interest of the city for the future of the city to lower rates now, put the burden on the next board, or deal with what we have now and go forward from there. And that's sadly what, you know, the decision needs to be.
I don't know any company that can operate 2.5 years on their reserves. Both the water and the sewer could operate on our reserves for 2.5 years.
Barring no emergencies.
Barring the budgeted ones for the previous year. And I mean, we don't have a rate on the amount that we can stop keeping reserves. It's just, you know, we can, I just think, you know, it's the people and the businesses deserve a break. I mean, we build up what we said we were going to do, and we're in good shape, but, yeah, you know, things could happen. But I think the people would be more understanding if we tried to give them a reduce and then had to go back because of a major catastrophe.
Well, you know, that's fine and dandy. I know Herculaneum, when I went to school, they kept a 20% reserve, and I guess like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, they had to borrow money because they didn't keep the reserves. Number two is they have a tax bill, tax things for coming up. They're asking for a house for $100, $118. I don't see people over there protesting what the school district does. They raise their stuff 21%, 15% every year. They're called hold harmless, the school district is. Doe Run goes out of business. That debt is shifted to the individual people and the other businesses who live here. So, you know, you want to cut everything for the city, but I don't see people over there moaning, groaning, complaining. They're asking for $119 for thereabouts, for 100 thing. I know Steve's, his tax probably go $400 or $500 this thing passes. But I don't see people flocking over there, belly aching. We need money to run a city just like the school district. I'm not saying the school district doesn't need it, but we need our money just like everybody else does.
We'll vote on that.
Mr. Bewig, last time.
No.
It's enough.
One of the differences I feel, okay, is that the voters have approved all those rate increases that you're talking about every time.
No, you're wrong.
No,
Yes, you
I
are.
voted for every
You're
school
wrong.
district.
No,
It's
what it
a
is-
discussion of the school district.
It's hold harmless. We are paying for whatever school district Doe Run, they lost on Doe Run taxes, does not vote, say, well, you rest, you pay it. We pay it no matter what. So they do raise our taxes.
No, they don't, not without an approval.
Okay.
The debt's there, I agree with you, the debt's there, and we will have to pay it.
Alright,
But you don't, you
alright,
need
we're
to
not
vote.
gonna argue with the school district, it's
Okay.
here and there. Back to the water rates, does anybody else have anything else they want to discuss as far as the water rates? Alright, so at this time, we want to look at what the other rates are with the other communities surrounding us. We would like
C1 Water District has made it clear to me that in 2017, when our contract is up, that they want their customers back, which includes the Abbey,
Pretty much north of Z.
right, Bushburg, anything, Hunter's Run, the trailer parks, and I said something about the infrastructure, and they said, well, when a contractor builds something, they dedicate the infrastructure to the districts. And then Mr. Brown said, we're not a contractor, we're a municipality. And I, this will be a legal issue. And he said, why do we want to pay the lawyers a ton of money to figure this out? They would like to sit down with you, Jesse, and Vicki, the board member, and I think the director of the water district.
We have a lot that we're gonna have to look into when it comes to 17. That is a major issue for us come 2017. It's gonna be something to look at. Like I said, we're gonna have a lot of research that's gonna have to be done before we can just decide on the rate reduction at this point, especially with the C1 district coming in and possibly taking up to 50% of our customers. All right, anything else? All right, we're gonna move on to TNR. Alderman Shepherd asked to put it on the agenda. This is for discussionary purpose for the board. I understand there are a lot of you here this evening, and I have also let the board members know if they have a direct question that they would like to ask you, if you could please respond, but let's keep it short and brief so we can move into everything else. Thank you. All right.
Yes, we had the presentation on trap and release before, and one of the main concerns was liability. And Open Door Sanctuary sponsored Pacific's bill, and they also willing to sponsor our ordinance. And they have liability insurance that I think was sent to myself and Vicki. Did you forward that on to Sean?
I did, but that wasn't liability insurance.
Okay.
That was insurance on their building. That's all I got.
Okay. We did direct Sean last meeting, though, to go ahead and get, as far as his opinion and the legalities of the city. So if you want to go ahead and start off, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I start with our own ordinances, which mirror section 578.005 of the Missouri State Code. In those statutes, they refer to certain actions by individuals, specifically animal neglect. They define animal neglect as knowingly abandoning an animal in any place without making provision for its adequate care. Under the terms of the trap, neuter, and release, it's my understanding that we take them back, put them back in the colony that they were in, and that's where they stay. So there's a question in my mind as to whether or not it would be a violation of that statute to release them back into the city of Peterbilt. I've read some liability cases on animals from different jurisdictions. The courts in California seem to think that the liability issue is not a big deal. There are no cases on point in the state of Missouri. There are approximately 11 states that have enacted legislation that specifically addresses this trap, neuter, and release project. Those statutes seem to indicate that they will waive liability on the part of the municipality, but again, Missouri does not have one of those statutes. Again, I've got a number of problems with it, but I'm only asked to talk about the legalities of it. I cannot get around the potential liability issue. I've spoken with Vicki regarding perhaps having whoever wants to sponsor this enact a policy of insurance that the city of Peebly is the beneficiary of in amounts sufficient to cover potential damage that would arise from something like this. And then provide us with a certificate of insurance every year that shows us that it's in place and that will allow us to know that we're protected.
But even if you get that letter of insurance or anything, and they go out of business, and you have all these new cats running
an excellent question. For my analysis, it comes down to an issue of custody, okay? So who has custody of a feral cat? Arguably, no one has custody of a feral cat. Until you take that cat into your possession, neuter it, and then release it out again. So I don't have an answer for you that's adequate, but my gut reaction is that we potentially go back on the hook.
How do you differentiate besides someone who has a domestic cat they don't board, don't keep in the house, runs around, they get picked up, they get fined. They pick a cat up, I mean, it's kind of doesn't seem fair. Kind of like, what about if I want my dog's run loose? She's spayed.
Right, you'd be in violation of the ordinance and you'd be in violation of the statute.
One thing, these animals are out there, and the communities that I've talked to that have this have reduced the amount of the animals they have. We euthanized quite a few cats years ago. We were still taking in just as many as we did then. I see this is no cost to the city. They also, when they neuter them, they chip them and vaccinate them for rabies. The rest of the cats right now aren't right now vaccinated for rabies. So that would mitigate some of our liability. I was against this when I first heard about this until I started doing research on it. And it seems to work in the other communities. And we could keep doing what we're doing now and still have a ton of cats around, or we can do something proactive and maybe reduce the amount we do have. It kind of reminds me of the mid. We were doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and now we're actually trying to do something about it. And this is where I see this at. And if this does not do what they say, like in the other communities, we can get rid of the ordinance.
How is the monitoring system completed? I guess this would be better asked for you. So you come in and you take 5 or 6 cats out of one place. You take them, you neuter them, you chip them, you bring them back. How do we know that you're bringing back just cats from our community? I mean, how does that work? Because I've had several calls from residents about, you pick up 10 cats, 5 are from us and 5 are from Festus. How do we know you're just not dropping the cats off here? It's a big worry that we'll end up with more from other communities than just our community alone.
We wouldn't do that.
I understand
Our
that, but
reputation is on the line here, and I mean, that's not what we're about. We're
I
about
understand
trying
that,
to-
but that's a question that we do have, from the community, that, you may
And I
have other
understand
cats
that
that
could
come
be a
through.
concern, but, I mean, right now, you're so close to Herculaneum and all theirs are fixed, they could be coming over here, or yours can be going over there, and I'm fixing theirs for free. I mean, so,
Sure, understandable, but what is the process that you guys take? You take the cats in, you tag them, you monitor them, how does it work? I mean, that we know, what's the
we're
steps
gonna
that you
have a
take?
trapping night, say we have a feral day on Fridays, we do it all the time. We'll come here, we'll blanket the city to, trap, and then like that day will be yours. We ear tip them, we microchip, and I keep spreadsheets of where everybody, all the cats go.
When you chip them, the ones that are,
Yes, I'll chip them, and they'll be chipped to my open door, but I will put in my spreadsheet, it's a Peebly cat, and what street I got it on, blah, blah.
Okay. And you said that the city will actually trap them?
No.
Okay, that's what I was
No,
listening.
I have trackers.
You trap them, okay. Okay.
and euthanizing is an expense in the city. If we can reduce the amount without doing that, I can see
So
the
what
city.
happens if a cat comes up and claws a child, and it goes back to, she goes and gets it? Because we've had that instance just up here on Riverview where that cat clawed that little girl. So she went and picked her up, they found it, they found the actual owner lived in Beasley, so they, they did their tests and all that stuff, gave the cat back to them, fined them, and told them to keep the cat, in their house. How does that happen with their cats?
Well, it's probably not feral because you couldn't get near it.
Okay.
A feral cat's going to run from a child. A child never, or even a human, will never have an opportunity to pick up a feral cat unless they corner them into a box.
We have a lot of feral cats over at our house, and unfortunately, the elderly lady across the street from her, the neighbor across from us feeds them. And they sit at her front door, and the nurse has to take the cats out of the way to get in and out of the house.
In the city of St. Louis, I'm a former task force member, and we have a current task force member here as well. The rule of thumb of the city of St. Louis, if somebody is feeding them, animal control can go by, observe that, and say, look, you're feeding the cats, they all need to be fixed. In that case, the priority level would go up in that situation. Task force members would go track the entire colony, in one fell swoop. They'd be fixed, vaccinated. Any that are adoptable, small kittens, a stray that is like, hey, I'm friendly, those try to get pulled out of the system. And with Tracy offering this to you, that makes it so much easier to happen. And then those risks go down.
So some of the cats aren't even coming back.
Well, if there's, if they're adoptable and socializable, I guess. So if you have small kittens.
Or if they're very sickly, and they look very sickly, and I test them, and they turn up positive for feline leukemia, feline AIDS, I'm also going to euthanize them and not return them, because they're sick cats.
You don't want to make the others.
What type of vaccinations do you give, and how long do those vaccinations last?
We have FDRCP, which is the lobo, and then rabies, and it's a 3-year rabies.
3 years?
3 years.
So
Feral
I-
cats outside usually
Really?
only live to be 5 years old.
And a lot of the rabies vaccines have been proven that they do titers longer than 3 years. They actually last longer, and, than what
Sean?
they say.
What they're doing, they're doing in their own volition, they're doing things. Why does the city have to get involved? What laws is it that says that we have to approve what they're
Because
doing?
they're wanting to bring the cats back into our neighborhood and leave them wherever they found them.
It's just law let
Right.
people run at large. If you have a dog or cat and you let it run at large and it gets picked up or somebody reports you, you can be ticketed and fined.
Well, that's the city part, but I'm trying to delineate what they're doing different to what the city rules are.
Because our rules say you can't do it. So they
Okay,
can't
so
do
we
it.
have to get their approval because
Right, we have
we
to
say they
adopt an
can't do
ordinance
it.
that would allow
Okay,
them to do that.
that's what I didn't understand.
But at the same time, as the attorney's talking about liability, and I'm not comfortable until he's comfortable about doing this, because I'm not putting my personal assets
Right.
up because if something does happen. If he's okay and everything else, then I'm fine with it. So that means your personal assets, your house, everything else too,
Yeah.
if we don't take his advice.
No, anytime you can get government out of it, that's what I want. And I want to get it in. They seem like they were willing to do it on their own, and why, but now I know why you have to. Okay.
And as Sean said, there's just almost 0 cases of anything happening.
There's zero case law to give me guidance is what I was saying. Again, out of California, there's some case law that found that the owner of a cat who was let run free, tore up somebody's house, that person wasn't liable. That's what the court found. But there's very, very few cases on point that say this is where the liability lies or where it doesn't lie. Now, the only guidance I've gotten as far as the municipalities being involved in this is to have the municipality be as far away from the program as possible. Meaning, we almost don't do anything. We change maybe one ordinance in order to allow them to come and drop them back here. But that's as good as it gets. And I'm still not comfortable with that.
Can I say something?
How do we know that the one they're dropping here, they got here?
We just went over that.
We just went through that. Sorry.
That's okay. They were talking about chipping the cats and being able to track where they are.
Oh, with the ship?
Yes, sir.
This is Barbara, I'm Barb Vanderbeek. I work closely with the ACs down in this area, including Peabody, Festus, DeSoto, Arnold. And we try to network the cats to get them homes. That's where I'm involved in this.
Good.
I also, if they're adoptable, okay, I have to add that, if they're adoptable. I keep track of numbers from the Department of Agriculture on which ACs euthanize what every year. And I know I sent this to some of you and maybe you didn't see it, but your AC in 2011 killed 300 cats. And the next year it was better, because they weren't procreating. And then it climbed and it climbed and it climbed, and it obviously doesn't work to just kill them. You really need to fix them. Once you fix, just to give you an idea, because I've taken cats that have lived outside that are adoptable, that weren't fixed. Once you fix a male cat, in 30 to 45 days, that cat is nothing like it was prior to being neutered. It is. It's true. So if you have cats, male cats behaving badly because they're unneutered, and you get them neutered and you put them back out there, in a short period of time, you're not going to have the problems you had prior. No fighting over the females. No kittens everywhere spraying.
No, they still spray, because my son's cat did.
Oh, no.
Well,
Not
you may say
majority.
no, but I watched him back into my trash can.
Hey, I have a female.
We've been doing it for 10 years, and he sprayed my trash can. I don't know what he sprayed, but it came out the back. So I'm just telling you, they still do that.
Well, no, you know, one thing that worked in the city of Pacific, because Pacific was overrun with cats when we took over there. We're into our second year, and we've spay-neutered over 500 cats and pulled 280 kittens off the street. In the 6 months it took us to get Pacific to allow this, 200 more cats were born. I'm not picking on Peebly, but you have one animal control officer that can only do so much. If she traps 5 cats a week, the 50 other ones that are out there have already given birth to 500 more. So unless you TNR, you're not going to solve this problem unless you want to hire a whole band of people to go out there and trap this whole city. Because for every 1 cat she traps, there are 20 more giving birth to 6 kittens.
Did TNR not go, did TNR go to City of Medium?
Yes.
You're
Yes.
doing that now, and what year did you guys start that?
3 years
Prior
ago.
to that, we were euthanizing no cats for them.
Well, we started, 3 years ago.
It was probably 3 years ago.
I'm curious to see where the numbers were with the Department of Agriculture on that, because we were doing their euthanizing the cats for them, because they did not have the animal control officers. So
See, and I don't know if the Department of Ag delineated, you know, I don't know how it was reported in. In 2011, it said the Peebly intake was 275, the kill rate was 271. So 4 cats. And 2012, the intake was 16, the kill rate was 10. Again, a lot of it depends on which animal control officer you may or may not have had, and I don't know who that was. And I'm not, and this isn't a personal, you know, issue.
No.
And addressing, you know, you wanting to say the city stay away from it, which I can understand that, the liability pieces of it, but the communities that are doing it, and in the research that I continue to do with it, the National Animal Care and Control Association is actually acknowledging and has community cat programs in their guidelines for training of animal care and control officers. So cities are recognizing the shift to this and the lower numbers to it. But Tracy hits the nail on the head, and it all goes together. Unless there's something proactive, people are going to feed, like the lady across the street. They're not going to say, oh, I need help because they're breeding, because they're afraid that animal control is going to come and pick them up and take them away and kill them. And more likely, that's what's going to happen. You know, I'm not villainizing anybody, but that's what happens if there's no place for them to go.
Well,
If people reach out beforehand and say, oh, we'll come spay neuter, those problems don't become a problem. And if you don't get residents to buy into it or cooperate, then the population's still going to explode, and you're going to have more cats out there unvaccinated. And if I were a citizen and my neighbor was feeding, and there wasn't a if you feed, you fix policy, and something happened, and I found out that my city had an opportunity to do something that works and didn't, then I would also be upset. Because, you know, the current methods just don't work. It's failing across the country. The catch and
Do you
kill.
guys do any type of community education on this? Because we have numerous, it would be a toss-up, I think, if we took it to the vote of the people, because talking to people, there are people that are adamantly against this, and there are some that say, if it works, it works. So do you do any type of community education on this, other than just talking to us, putting some
said that there's you did 500 cats out at
Pacific.
Pacific.
Mhm.
How long ago was that?
We're into our second year. We've done it in a year and a half.
So how much does it drop the ones you catch? I know you'll probably catch some again.
Oh, we've caught several of the dumb boys again, but, no offense, it's not you guys, it's just dumb boys.
So I just wonder what the ratio was. I mean, how long?
We are to an end. We are barely catching any that have not already been fixed. Because we went out in a strong force from the start, within the first 6 months, and we hit it hard. But they have a lot, so.
And the other thing actual TNR advocates do is, and I'm gonna pick on your lady because you said it. They would go talk to her and her caregiver and say, okay, tell me how many cats you're here and feeding.
They're not feeding, the neighbor across the street is
A
feeding.
neighbor's across the
Yeah, so
street.
they would go and feed.
And they would say, okay, there's 10 cats. So those trappers, they know that they're gonna be going for 10 to 15 cats. They're gonna target all those cats at one time. Animal control, they're gonna do it humanely. Animal controls and animal controls do it nationwide. They'll set a trap out and they'll chain it to a tree and they'll go back and check it in a day or two. That's actually not humane and very unsafe for any animal that gets in the trap. They monitor the traps, they remove the cats, spay, the whole 9 yards, and then they come back. If animal control can do one cat, it's just like Tracy said, there's gonna be somebody else having kittens.
So, if we're looking at an ordinance, you guys all be deciding on it, we're looking at an ordinance for just felines.
Well, I personally think, this, the last time they were here, I wasn't opposed to this thing, but, my sister Sherry took a trap up there, she caught everything except for the stray cat. And now the stray cat had kittens, and, my sister's dog took one of the kittens out of the nest and, or whatever, and, anyway, so my sister put it back. Of course, the cat moved the kittens, and so, and she said there was a slew of kittens so here we are with a bunch of cats.
I was totally against this when I heard about it. That sounded crazy.
Do what?
I said, I was totally against this when I heard about it. I thought,
Yeah.
This is ridiculous, it's crazy.
But-
But then we started doing the research and I was talking to the other communities and their population is reducing at no cost to the city.
Right. And then last night, I poured that new concrete slab, and now on that concrete slab is a cat screaming and squalling all night long, so, I'm sure we're gonna have more cats.
A female cat can have a litter at 6 months, and then after she's still breastfeeding at 5 weeks, she can get pregnant again. So you do the math. I mean, that's a lot of litter.
400,000 cats. And they have 5 to 6 at a time.
Right.
Alright, you guys all feel comfortable with bringing forward? Sean has already given you his opinion. Have any other questions for Sean? Or for the ladies that are giving up their evenings to come here, thank you, by the way.
We don't mind. We really, really would love to help.
Speak for yourself.
Except for
I could
Tracy.
be trapping.
Well,
We all would.
I personally think that we need
I do too. Like I said, I was really against it to start with, but then once I researched it, I was thinking,
So
This
drafting
is crazy.
an actual
I have no problems
ordinance
with
to
it.
be brought forward. We've already heard Sean's response, he's not comfortable with it, but it's up to you guys to decide what you want in that ordinance. We did bring up the point of having a new policy where we are not responsible for anything, which that goes over to the insurance policy. You got?
Well, I did actually put a call into our insurance carrier, because I was curious about this, new to me too, and asked them, where are we at on this whole thing? And what they said was, without a rider on their policy, any mishap whatsoever, doesn't matter whatever, will fall back to our policy and our insurance company and our attorneys will be responsible for litigating whatever the claim is. And they strongly recommended a rider on Open Doors policy that indemnifies the city. That's what our insurance company told us.
What happens now?
Whatever it is, you can it for what it's worth, but that's
So
why
what
we got
happens
three
now if a
different
cat
applications.
bites? What happens now if a cat bites somebody?
Pardon?
What happens right now, like we're not in it, what happens right now if a cat bites somebody?
Well, it
Nothing,
depends
because the
on-
city doesn't have any involvement in it now. It's only when we enter an agreement.
But you are now aware they're out there.
We're aware they're out there, however, we don't have an agreement with you guys, so once we enter into an agreement with you, we are giving you guys the okay to bring these cats back. So now, we have an agreement,
see,
and
okay.
now we have to protect our liability.
I see what you're saying.
So, you said somebody had talked to different cities. Did anybody contact like Chicago Animal Care and Control? Because they've had ordinance and things in
I'm
place.
sorry, ma'am, I'm hard of hearing, you got
Chicago.
soft.
Chicago or any of the larger like Best Friends, you know, that, you know, they have legal,
Chicago is one of those states that has the statutory prohibition against liability, because Illinois grants it, Missouri doesn't have that.
Okay, so Utah with Richard Angelo, he's the head lawyer for Best Friends. It's the largest no-kill sanctuary in the United States.
Mhm.
I believed he phoned you and emailed you. At least he let me know he did. And
Never heard from him.
that's interesting. Okay, because he sent me papers of an ordinance that I dropped by your office.
Okay, I know
Personally.
that, I know that happened, that
Okay.
part, it
Okay.
did happen, but not.
But he did not call, well, okay, lines got crossed. But, I mean, this is, what about Utah? I mean, he hand wrote an ordinance for you.
That
You
was
know.
nice. You know, I mean, to be honest with you, I've done some research on this, and I've done more than just the legal research. I've done the actual research on whether or not this is an effective thing to do, all right? I look at the American Veterinarian Medical Association Committee on Environmental Issues that says this doesn't work. I look at Pamela Jo Hapley's article in the Journal of Land Use and Environmental Law that says TNR managing large number of cats in colonies does not effectively control cat overpopulation. However, it does threaten species that are indigenous in the area with cats. Florida's tried this. Florida didn't have good luck with it. There's all kinds of literature out there that shows that this particular type of trap neuter release doesn't do what it purports to do. I've been reading today from a document written by a guy named Brian Cordes, persuading municipal officials to go with TNR. And this is literally right out of the playbook. So you guys are trying to convince me that I'm to tell my city it's okay, our liability is going to be fine, and it's not.
I was just asking a question, that's all.
Okay?
I like to kind of rub against trap neuter in return. not
Or release, it depends on the organization.
All right, so right now, what you guys are wanting to do, is what I'm understanding, is for Sean to bring forth a ordinance to enter them. So what we can do is we can bring forward the ordinance to the first meeting in August. If there's something in there you guys don't like, we need to change, address, or anything above, or if anybody has a department here until then, so be it. But we do definitely need to make sure that we're covered as far as liability. If they are requesting an actual waiver be in there, or
Or they
rider,
highly recommended.
we're gonna go with what they say, because they're our insured, and he's our attorney. So we definitely would need to have a rider in there as far
But
as.
once, Stephanie, I'm saying right now, once you release those cats, and I'm not saying they're going out of business, they probably never will, we're liable then.
This is my point, so the best that I can say to you is that, I mean, what I'm hearing, you guys are at least entertaining an ordinance. Whether the ordinance gets passed or approved is what it is, but in order to go any further with this, we have to have an ordinance.
Yes.
It's up to you, I can put it on the agenda for a discussion topic, if you guys wanna vote on something prior to an ordinance, we can do that.
See, I haven't been, I guess it's been going on before I got elected and stuff, but I don't want to go against my attorney, and I don't know enough to say that, you know, they're right. What happens if we don't do anything?
You're gonna have a million cats.
Well, you know, we've got, how many years we've been going this way, and
Well, you can do it, I contacted all the aldermen specific, and I got some information from them. I don't know about Turkey, but you guys are, you know, control, basically, yes.
Alright, so what we need to do is decide if you guys want it on it as an agenda item, whether you want to vote for an ordinance or not, or if you want him to go ahead and spend the time to draft the ordinance and bring it forward and critique it from there. But we need to move forward on this. I mean, we have been talking about this for a while. We're
Yes.
not making any movement on it.
I'd say have them make a draft of it, bring it to us. And discuss it.
Okay, what is Jefferson County? I mean, that's as close as we can get. Does Jefferson County do anything in this line or anything?
does.
Herculaneum.
No, I'm talking Jefferson County. I mean, you know, they're kind of above us, you know, the state's above them and they're kind of above us. And if it's a larger.
We have a shared agreement with them, and I'm sure pretty much every place has a shared agreement with them on how they handle it. We pretty much handle our own, you know, their own, so they have that. Jefferson County is a large area, but they don't handle the area. If someone calls in and complains about it, that's when Jefferson County sends out their.
Okay, but no one like this has went to Jefferson County to try to get all this at
Have you
one
guys
time.
even presented anything to the actual county themselves?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're on the Jefferson
I work
County.
with JT very closely. and,
But you're not actually doing it there in Jefferson County?
I do it all over
Yeah, we
Jefferson
do.
County.
Okay.
JT, unless he gets a complaint on any of my cats. he
But they have
sends
no
them.
agreement with you, you're just
They have
doing
no
it on your
agreement,
own.
but he knows it's going on, he just leaves them alone unless there's an actual complaint.
That's his choice if he wants to accept liability on that. So at this point, you're wanting to decide, you're wanting to go ahead and go with the ordinance, he will draft it
Draft.
into
Draft.
the first meeting. Draft
Draft form so we
ordinance,
can look at it.
draft ordinance, not a votable ordinance, draft form.
Can I make one point to this gentleman here, I don't know your name?
Sean West,
Oklahoma will never go out of business
Yeah.
because there are municipalities that do not embrace TNR. So as long as there's stray cats and dogs out there, we will always be in business.
Well,
I would love to say that we could go out of business.
Yeah,
but we
right.
won't.
I just.
We've been there since 1975. I understand.
Personal assets are up
I understand that.
to things.
I've got the same stuff on our boat, so I understand that. And we've been there since 1975.
I appreciate you ladies coming and answering the questions that we had. Hopefully we can come to resolve soon, but definitely something that we have to look into as far as the city. We will have that drafted ordinance at the first meeting of August, and we'll go over.
Did you want to put some up to the city? Because he read
That's up to them. If they
Oh,
want to come
apparently,
in and make
yeah, he said
a
he
meeting
does.
here and open it, you can have someone here. We don't have to do it as a city though. They can rent the room out and post it.
There's no cost for that.
All right, thank you ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I just ask one thing? I'm sorry. Is it all right if you guys have any questions, just, email me and I'll get you the information. And I'm gonna get some more ordinance, maybe over to Sean, maybe he can get some more, other than just the one or two I gave you.
yeah, that's fine.
And then maybe you have a couple to like,
Marie just sent
No,
it.
I appreciate it, thank you.
You emailed him, you emailed all of us.
me?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
She's the mouth of the south.
I'm the mouth.
And Maria just sent me one from St. Louis. Which one's Maria? Is she here?
Maria?
Yeah, I got one too.
Maria's not here.
St. Louis's ordinance.
Yeah, check out St. Louis City's ordinance.
This is what they do with animal control, they work with hand.
Yeah, I got
Here, more. I'll give you this one.
Thank you.
This
JC. she's got
Richland,
one.
Missouri. What?
I say Richland, Missouri is another one that has started it, so.
I
Thank you very much.
appreciate it. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna move on to Alderman Walter, Park Board.
Here you go. Here's some other copies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, as everybody can see that park board members.
Thank you so much.
have been-
This is still a work in progress, but it's the progress we've made with the TNR task force in the city of St. Louis. It's not perfect, but we're working together with Animal Care and Control, a group of volunteers. We don't get paid.
Go ahead, Ed, sorry.
Our chairman has almost been there for 10 years since he was sworn in. Only Stephanie, Dan Hall, and Jennifer Dacus are the only three people that have been honestly, I think we need a whole new face for pride for this park board myself.
Seven, you were going in before you were mayor, right? So we really need a chair, we need somebody from the board.
Now, to bring everybody up to speed, we have already sent letters out back in and noted to all board members.
If
saying,
they
hey,
want us to.
you're gonna stay on this, we need to start, getting together, doing some stuff. Some people responded, I don't want to be on, some people didn't respond, so at this point in time, like, and I was talking to Mr. Ryan out in the hallway, he would be more than happy to, be appointed to our board for 1 year, and start getting some ideas and some stuff out here. I had,
Bill, you were on the park board for a long time.
My dog calls since you.
and we had this discussion back when I worked, when I was doing the minutes for the park board. They were falling out because there is, it's very stagnant on the board, very stagnant. I asked to be on the board back then, to get on the board, to get some people, there, we haven't had a meeting, I've had 20 meetings since I was on the board. So, it's definitely, I totally agree, it needs to revamp.
Yeah, you know, if next year we're in fall festival or anything, we need some new people on this because,
Well, isn't, like, it's park board, they're supposed to be bringing the ideas to us, not us.
I understand that,
No, that's when they ask
but,
questions.
sure, but still, if they never meet or anything, they don't show no interest, then we need some new members for it. I mean, 2004,
Now,
that's over 10 years.
when did we put the ad in the paper?
It would have been early this year or something.
We put an ad in the paper, we got no response for people to come in
Well, you got Bill Ryan, you got, Don's, daughter-in-law.
She's very organized, you go get her.
and who would like to be liaison? Because
I
I
would
did
do
say
it.
I would step aside and I would just be a board member.
I will be more than happy to do it.
I got a question for Sean.
Yes, sir.
With getting rid of people that are appointed with, do they just serve at the pleasure of the Board of Aldermen?
Well, no, for instance, Board of Adjustment, they have certain years that they're appointed for, 5, 4, 3, 2,
It
1.
tells you at the bottom of your list who gets appointed for how many years on your packet.
So, would we be following what we're supposed to follow before we do all that stuff?
Because
Most of these people are no longer
They're supposed
qualified.
to be reappointed. Every year is supposed to be a reappointment of these people.
If you appoint for 3 years, you wouldn't have to reappoint them to the
Well,
third
one
year.
third of the time.
One third is time.
Right, they're staggered. You have 9 members and you have 3 years, 3 years, and 3 years. So we would stagger terms for the first year.
It's kind of like the alderman who got elected board for, Rick was a 2-year term, you did 1 year, and you got a second those votes.
I just want to make sure we weren't doing anything, you know, but when you clean house, you always wonder legal ramifications. That's all
I'm just going by what this says. And if they hadn't been sworn in since 2008, that's 8 years ago.
There's
I mean-
some that have been removed, but
I can't remember the last time I got sworn.
Score.
I, all the time.
so I think we're all
Hey,
pretty
Michelle,
well.
can you say who all you got letters back from?
You wouldn't do that?
No.
Okay, just the ones that haven't been sworn in over 3 years.
Very few people responded back.
So, I mean, it's definitely time to go ahead, I would say clean house but we have to have the people that want to do it, because also,
Yeah, you don't clean house unless you have somebody to take the place.
exactly.
So, but again, I don't think one person would be chairman of different committees. I don't think that's good.
Chairman of planning and zoning and park board.
And Alvin's very familiar with planning and zoning, so he does that work with, St. Louis County. So I would really like to see that stay there.
Well, but you're supposed to vote on that. I got these things today, that everything you're supposed to vote on, is
saying everybody, but it's 2015, 2000, everyone else. We're not getting-
Well, you're a chairman, supposed to be
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, voted every year.
Every year.
You can still appoint the same.
The moral of the story is we need to go out and find people to help us.
Right.
Yeah, because the volunteer boards are very hard to get.
Cut to it.
Volunteer. Yes. I've been asking
Gentlemen,
already.
here's what I'll tell you, running an ad in the paper doesn't give them the word volunteering. It takes you gentlemen sitting around this table to go out there and find them and bring them into City Hall.
All you need is a
Can we
letter.
tase them? Can we tase them?
Just a letter saying you're interested.
Do what?
Can we tase them?
We'll have one next meeting.
To bring them?
You can tase them if you desire.
You know, if we have the letter, we have the advertisements go out, we had it on our post board, we had, we announced it several times before the.
I know.
Yeah.
And I get announced to the drivers like here too.
And it is on
And
the
so,
But, Mr. Ryan did say that he would take one of the staggering one-year terms, so that would get us into getting someone, you know, because we're gonna have staggered terms, we can't go and say, okay, we're appointing.
Well,
somebody.
okay, wasn't Dan Hall in 2005, I mean, 2015? And we got two of, well, you were 2015, so that could be 2 for 3 years there, or 2 years there, or whatever. And the new one, we get 3 new ones on there. And then 30 other ones get 1 year. Yeah.
The thing is too is.
We need to figure out what we want to do with appointments then. I mean, we just can't say, yeah, they're on there, so now what would you do then? What, how many years are we gonna give them?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is we're gonna have to figure out, first of all, we need to get bodies in here. Of
Mr.
people
Ryan
that,
said he
you know,
only wants 1
Mr.
year.
Ryan said 1 year.
It's easy to figure that one out.
You know, one year, but, I mean, we gotta get the people in here before we can even decide who we're giving what terms. And
Okay.
we might have 5 come in and say, well, I wanna do a 1 year term. So,
Yeah.
we
Well,
gotta kind
yeah.
of go from there. So,
Have you still talked to Joyce Rubel?
I just had lunch with her a couple weeks ago.
Did she, I know she was on plans only for a long time, she'd be interested.
Well, the thing is too is, if I might read this, everything else, it says the mayor by and with the consent of the board of aldermen, may remove any member of the park recreation board from conduct of their election duty.
Right.
So she can take anybody else she wants to, when she wants to, so.
With our,
Do we have, my idea for the alderman, if you don't show up for meetings, that after, you miss 3 meetings in a row, you're,
it's neglected duty.
that's part of that, so we won't have a,
you know, the reason I don't think it's ever been done is
get somebody else to take the
replace.
spot.
Right.
Then
Well, we
then
just-
you got nobody.
Yeah.
So, I guess the challenge would be for everybody to go out and start talking to some people.
I don't know.
Get a board meeting. I'm good.
Since we're on the subject board, if I could bring this up. Is that all right? All right. We've got this tourism board that we're trying to fill right now.
Right, what's up?
And we're handcuffed by the way the statute's written. I'd like to just have everybody kind of think about whether or not maybe we need to open that up a little bit.
Will the state let us open it up?
I'll check.
Yeah, that's-
with
Well,
you.
we
We've talked about that.
Steve and I had an idea before, is that have someone as a consultant, get paid $1 a year through Mid-America
Right.
hotels. Would that fulfill any requirements if you're getting $1 a year? Would that be damn to do that?
Okay, I'll figure out whether or not we can adjust what we've got in order to stay within compliance with the state, so we'll still get the money.
Yeah, because if we need to, we can either probably get Ms. Becky Ruth to talk to state rep and see if she can change some state law, or whatever.
Work that for us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who else is this group? Oh, you got Becky Ruth, the Falls, and stuff.
Probably.
Yeah.
We're gonna kind of combine these two, the committee and the park board, we're talking about them all as a
Yeah.
general thing anyway. Mr. Ryan, you would like to say something?
You said, Don, you want to be the alderman?
Yeah, I would do that.
The next meeting is supposed to be the 9th, is that right?
Of August?
Just checking.
Second Tuesday of the month, right?
First.
August 9th.
First is planning zone.
I got 2 more years.
Whatever the second Tuesday.
I think that's the 8th.
Ninth.
Oh, second
Right.
Tuesday.
When I talked, excuse me, talked to Steph and Russ about this, I would still like to see us, because over a year, we told people that we're gonna do something in September. And I really would still like, if the board is willing, to try to do something for a one day, the last Saturday in September.
We
Put
are
something
gonna
together.
talk about that bill down here on the
Bonfire/social.
Now, you had a chunk of money budgeted, so there's, you know, but there is some stuff that probably could be pulled off for the end of September.
The park is booked on the last Saturday.
Well, let's turn around.
Do you know of an open date?
The parks committee.
Is there an open date in September?
Yeah, oh, yeah,
The third?
Let's get through this one first.
I mean,
Let's
is
get
that
down to
something you
one.
guys are interested in doing or not?
Let's figure out the boards first, and then we will get back to that topic down here at the bottom, okay? So, right now, we're looking at everybody, board members, residents, going out, trying to find some people that would give one, that are going to be dependable and influential in a board, and, you know, actually be here to work and get some things done for the citizens. That going with also the PT and the board of adjustments, we need to get these back up to par. So,
Well, the three people in 2015 was for me, so, all you guys have to do the rest of it. Board of Adjustments. Somebody needs to go talk to Jan Munson. You know what you're gonna hear about for a while. That's right.
well, and I talked to Gene Powers, and he said he didn't want nothing to do with it, so.
But the wall,
As an alternate on the board of adjustments. So, I don't know what he's got going on, but I talked to him.
Hey, on planning and zoning, I had talked to Vicki a little bit about today. Asbestos used to let there, so make sure we have a quorum all the time. Their building inspector was a voting member of planning and zoning. And that was, asbestos was. They don't do it anymore. I don't know why it was taken out. I talked to Mike Lemon, and he said one time he was a voting member, and I don't know if that's, is there a third class versus a fourth class?
Would there be a conflict there, or the actual code enforcement,
Yeah.
whether to pass them?
yeah, because I say, if those were two different, yeah, if it was two different, people, we might be able to get away with that.
But having the code enforcement actually present something to be proposed, and then the voting member.
Well, but they always ask, what's your opinion on
Well,
it?
sure, that's his opinion, but to actually vote on something.
Well, I'm just throwing stuff
He
out.
would be the,
Don't kill the messenger.
the actual.
Fame.
They vote they need.
I'm just, you know, I've been down there before planning and zoning meetings, they would have.
Right,
Yeah, I didn't say zero.
one thing I got is, you got,
Sorry.
the park board's got 3-year terms, and planning and zoning's 4-year terms, and the board of justice for 5 years. I personally, I think every one should be at least 3 years or more.
Set it at three,
Yeah, I think they all should be 4-year terms, not 4 or 5
and
years.
then drag out 5 years and.
Yeah.
I agree.
You got 5 years on there, but you still can remove them from neglect, but at the same time, as you don't want to do that.
There's no term limits, right? They could read itself.
Yeah, you know, they can be 3 and 3,
Yeah,
as long as
there is
they're,
no-
as long as they're doing a good job, everything else, there, you know.
I would have had his own something like that.
No, I don't.
Okay, so I guess our task now is to, first of all, the Board of Adjustments, are we good on Board of Adjustments, or we, we're getting to, I mean, they only need to absolutely need.
I would like requirements. Do you have requirements for the different ones before I go out and ask someone that's not?
Not for these boards.
Shouldn't they?
Breathing, or they will come to the meeting.
They need to submit a request.
You know, it's the expense of Board of Adjustment. These people don't show up. We have, and I don't know why we have a stenographer, is that what it is? Because I know, I've been playing Board of Adjustment Festus, and they don't. I don't know if it's something we have to have, but, you know, I don't know what we pay someone, but if these people don't show up and that stenographer shows up, We're paying them anyway.
It's $100 right off the bat, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a minimum
Just
of
for her to
$100.
show up,
Yeah.
so,
Doesn't somebody pay
Is it
$300 to
legally,
get
we
to
have,
board
we have to
adjustments?
have one?
I'm sorry.
Is it legal? We
Yes,
have-
we have to have.
Then why doesn't Festus have?
We're paying for a board of adjustments?
Yes.
Because the board of adjustments is final say, it doesn't go to the council.
So they're making a
And
mistake.
Those documents then is a legal decision which then is submissible in court.
Okay, well, we would need to find people that will show up in. Or can we have more alternates? I mean, I don't know if we can have alternates to these to make sure what we, I mean, I would just hate, number one, I hate for the people to have to come back. It's ridiculous. I hate for the
Well,
city to
I
have
think
to
each one
pay.
of these boards is set within an ordinance, correct? So
Yes.
we will have to amend
Adjust.
each ordinance for each board. And so if these are things that we're wanting to see addressed and changed, we need to have
Well, I
a
think
draft.
the board of adjustments definitely, I think, needs to be changed to have alternate.
So right now, it's a 5-member board with 3 alternates. So
Oh,
right
3
now,
alternates.
it's 3 alternates. We only have 2.
Actually, you only have one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
said Harold.
Gene doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. So would he do it if he was a member of it?
He doesn't, he told me he doesn't have nothing to do with any of it.
No. That's fine.
But again, if these people don't show up for this stuff,
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said these people aren't showing up,
You know, one of the things we can put in the ordinance, where I know about it, I get my packet from planning and zoning, okay, no, it's a meeting. If I don't wanna come, I always call. Can we require that, so we say we call?
But still,
Well, with the Board of Adjustments, they're paying for this meeting, so we really need to know
they're paid.
way
Right.
Oh,
before.
yeah, it's not for it.
Yeah, way before we even tell her to come. So first off, Board of Adjustments, we're proposing that we have a 3-year term on that. And then you're wanting 5 members, 3 alternates, we're gonna keep that the same.
That's fine.
And a 3-year term, so bring a draft ordinance to amend the Board of Adjustments. And then you guys can discuss it in more detail, and if there's anything you want to change, amend it further. Or if you talk to the people, or you get, consensus from the residents that you're talking to, or the board members,
Are we
then we
going,
can go from there.
are we trying to make this, like each ward have so many members or what?
It would be
Because
nice.
like right now, Ward 2 is Norm Robinson's Ward 2, Pat Goodwin's Ward 2.
Well, Jude Montgomery's Ward 3,
Yeah.
and so is Janet Munson.
So definitely said, now that we have 4 wards, are you looking at upping the number of members in that? Or
Not
one
necessarily.
from each ward?
I'm not saying.
It's really nice to do that, but I don't know if that's,
Yeah, I think we just need light bodies,
yes.
I agree.
more so than
I don't
wards.
know who Mike
That's-
Forsey is.
I don't know either. You know, Mike Forsey.
I thought it was 4 sheets.
Forsey.
He lives down in, Hunter's Glen.
That'd be Ward 1.
Yeah.
See, Ward 1.
Okay, so we're looking at 3-year term, draft, do a draft ordinance for the discussion of 3-year terms. Leave it at 5 members with 3 alternates.
But don't we need to get these people in here all one time and swear them all in, park board and everybody?
All in it, once-
Kind of a massive swearing.
I think
Robbie, for everyone, or
Really, the thing, especially for this board though, send out, I guess, an itinerary for them, and then they have to respond. Should respond if they're gonna be there.
We did that.
It didn't work?
We did that. No, it didn't work.
Okay, never mind.
Okay. All right. So that is to be addressed. Planning and zoning, that's a 4-year term, 9
So
members.
move it back to 3 years.
Move it back to 3 members, and we have no alternates.
Well, we did. Clint was the alternate. And who were left, and then we just made, yeah, name. He lived up in Arnold, he was an alderman, councilman up in Arnold.
Oh,
3-year term.
3-year terms. Now,
You know, Sharon House, you might want to see if she's doing alternate, because she's going most of the year.
Right,
6 months out of each year, yeah.
Yeah.
So, does all the aldermen have to keep one of them for
Liaison.
the liaison, and then, everybody else can still be on it, or what?
Whatever you wanna do.
I'm just asking, because you've got 3 aldermen on it. One of them like to send.
Yeah, I was on their way before I was an alderman, but I'll, hey,
I'm just asking, that's the thing is, I don't think the reason that I was taken off first time I was committed was because I didn't need a replacement.
we show up.
It's nice to be on.
All right, so,
But I'm easy, just one last meeting.
but again, we have to have the bodies.
Right, we can get an influx.
So right now, we're looking at a 3-year term of that, keeping the number of members the same, and we have no alternates, or we want to add an alternate.
I would add an alternate
Which one's good?
to the planning zone, because we had one before.
One alternate? Okay, so we'll draft on that to amend that one. And then we have the park.
Do you, think of trying to get people, how often do they meet? Different boards meet, or?
Usually once a month.
Once a month,
Except
and
for-
but normally, okay,
Except for a board of adjustment, that only meets when necessary.
when necessary.
Planning zone is the first Tuesday of the month, then board,
Our board for
Second.
second Tuesday.
Okay. Just starting
All right, so then the park board, we got 9 members, 1 board of aldermen, 8 volunteers, 3-year term, we're gonna keep that 3-year term now. Making all the rest of them, and then any alternates on this one?
Park board, liaison's gonna be gone.
Your point.
As far as the board though, do we want to stick with the 9-member board, 3-year terms, do we want an alternate on that?
For P and Z?
No, park board.
Our board?
we usually have a alternate.
I would like
Just
to.
in case.
Yeah. That's why they can fill in, if, or somebody quit, the alternate become permanent.
All right. One other one I did want to touch on, I spoke with Mr. Ryan also on the police board, which of course we don't have it in here. You know, we do have that ordinance, and we do need to look at who's going on
So how many,
I didn't hear you, what do you?
police board?
the police board.
Okay.
While Sean's looking that up, I can tell you about the next new business. We still got one for the alternate position.
Got one?
Got one. That's it.
One request, yes.
Was that from Ward, or 4, excuse me?
4,
Yes.
yes.
It was, okay. We said it didn't have to be, right?
Doesn't have to,
We
we
prefer,
prefer.
yeah, that's why I was asking.
So that they have.
Are they from Ward 1?
representation. Ward 4.
I mean, from Ward 4?
Yes.
The first?
We've only received 1.
What,
From Ward 4.
what are the requirements of the new one? I mean, as far as education, would it be just 1 year, or, if you're talking to people, you want to know, be able to tell them something,
Could be
okay?
for the rest of this year.
Just the rest of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, so the training wouldn't be necessary, but they'd still receive their pay?
Well, I mean, we're gonna put them in and we're gonna have them go to training, yes. Even if it's an appointed position, we're still going to have them follow the ordinance and go to a training class. Training classes are almost every month, they have something.
We'll have to find something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
So
Not able to take
everything,
it
all
online.
requirements for the board, any year is still, this guy has to meet, or this person, has to. Okay.
All right, police board.
Composition, 6 members, one of whom shall be a member of and selected by the Board of Aldermen of the City of Peebly, one who shall be a member of the Peebly Police Department department and recommended for the position by the chief. Said person to carry the rank of sergeant or above. Both these members shall be appointed for the term of 1 year by the mayor of the city with the consent of the board. The other 4 of the police board, the police personnel board shall be appointed by the mayor with the consent of the majority of the elected members of the board of aldermen, 2 of which shall serve for 2 years, 2 of which shall serve for 3 years. Mayor can fill any vacancies for any unexpired terms with the consent of the board. Member of the police personnel board may be removed in the same manner as other appointed municipal officials pursuant to section 79.240 RSMO. Members of the police personnel board shall serve until their successors have been appointed and qualified. They shall serve without pay. They have to be at least 21 years of age and a qualified voter of the city of Peebly. In the case of the member of the Peebly Police Department, the member should be a full-time member of the police department who carries the rank of sergeant or above, not including the chief of police. The other members of the board should be residents of the city of Peebly, and any of these members who cease to be a resident of the city shall automatically cease to be a member of the board. And they have to take the same oath as everybody else.
So 2 of them, you'll have 4 residents total?
4 residents, 2 at a 2-year term, 2 at a 3-year term, and then 1 police officer, sergeant or above, ranking,
Right.
and then 1 board of aldermen.
The problem last time, well, I've been told, I don't remember us having one, is that they want to go right around the police all the time. Police board members do. Can't do that. Or just want to go back in.
But again, in order to do all those things, they're going to have to pass the requirements that you yourself as board members
Right,
have,
they have to
background
face
check
the
and all that
permit,
stuff.
all that stuff.
And quite honestly, P&Z, Board of Adjustments, our board, they don't have badges to get
No.
in and out of city. And I think
And I don't
that the
think-
PD board should be the same.
I really don't think, they're there for advisory, I don't
Right.
think they need to have
They don't
callers
have
get back there
access.
either.
Right, agreed. I think they should be
Or
treated
right
the
around
same
what
as
they
the
did.
rest.
Didn't want to have some.
All right, so we good on those, and Mr. Ryan has also graciously offered to be on our board also, so we do have one.
For 1 year.
No, he said he would do the 2 or 3 years, but
Oh, you're just nice guy, Bill.
so we have that. All right,
Meeting conduct.
kind of goes down into anything else on the front board that we need. You know what our, kind of our homework is, and we find people who come in here that would like to do these.
Okay.
Okay. All right, alderman appointment, we just pretty much discussed, we've received 1. So we will,
Is there a deadline?
we want them before the next meeting.
Okay.
Which is, what, 2 weeks from today?
The thing is, relatively certain Stephanie asked for something in writing.
Okay. Like a resume or something, or what?
Just a letter of
Request.
interest or something. All right, anything else on that one? If anybody knows anybody, like I said, we would prefer them to be in Ward 4, but.
We got a meeting next month, the first, next Monday.
I do have one thing on the alderman, the additional one. Do we want to put anything in, like, you know, we had the problem with this one, with someone showing up with the thing. Do we want to ask that before we, you know, whether we're going to be able to attend meetings or any qualifications so we don't have to go through it in 3 months from now?
I'll talk to him.
And give it a-
I just wondered if there's someone we could approve, you know, what we did.
All right, we're on to that one, meeting conduct, Sean.
All right, guys, I've got a handout for you. I'm gonna make this short because I'm gonna ask you to go through this thing and mark it up for me, okay?
Okay.
It's a pretty simple deal. It takes Robert's rules, condenses them into something that's actually workable, that everybody can read and understand easily. Remember, I got the copy for you too. All right, you got this. If you just go through the, index kind of lays out a lot of everything, all right? References back to certain ordinances that we have, certain statutes that are already on the books with the state of Missouri regarding the conduct of a fourth-class city. More importantly, has to do with who does what and how we do it. For instance, if you look at Rule 3, nobody may like this at all, and it'll be changed if it's marked down. Department heads. Unless excused by the city administrator, department heads are requested to attend any meeting to provide information and advise upon matters regarding the function, services, and general operations of the department under his or her leadership. Sometimes we have questions about things that come up. It would be nice to be able to have that person there right then to answer the question, give us the information that we need so that we can make informed decisions. City attorney has to be here every time without asking, or without getting an excuse. Called on to give an opinion on the law, ordinances, and parliamentary procedure, but ultimately it's the mayor who makes the decision on how things are going to be conducted. Let's see, public accessibility, and this has to do with people who want to bring things in front of the board, and there's another section that has to do with how we handle items that are already on the agenda. So just go through and take a look at it. Again, if you don't like something in it, mark it out. If you think that it's too much, mark it out. Agendas, we put ourselves on a pretty strict compliance. This section is Rule 5. Basically, we still have to get agenda items requested by noon on Tuesday prior to the board meeting. We'll get everything posted according to this rule by Friday at 4:30. We usually make that, we make that way ahead of time every single time. Order of business, call to order, citizen input, mayor report, consent agenda, action agenda, non-action items, staff updates, committee reports, and adjourn. Again, it doesn't have to be this way, but it seems to me that if we conduct our meetings that way, we'll be able to get through things much more quickly, and we'll understand more of the issues that we have than, when we have 5 items on the agenda and we don't get a report from, say, what's going on with water, what's going on with, whatever department. Public comment, still the same as it was. It's a 3-minute limit, and for people who are wanting to comment on issues not listed on the action agenda, that would just be our normal agenda. They have to follow a certain set of steps in order to allow us to get it in front of the board in a way that the board can understand it. I think we give an exception for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and other nonprofits, but motions, it tells you how to do the motions. This is where the Robert's Rules gets really confusing, okay? There are rules having to do with actually making motions, and there's rules having to do with amending motions, or withdrawing motions, or arguing in opposition to motions. This just makes it real clear instead of looking at it through the new Robert's Rules. Ultimately, the Robert's Rules is our final backup on all of this, as long as it doesn't conflict with any of the Missouri laws or our ordinances. But, it's a simple way of doing it, and it gives you some really good advice on how to make that happen, all right? Mr. Jeffers likes to have a chance to talk through issues, ask questions, and so forth. This provides the mechanism for doing that, for then having the discussion and then having the vote. All right, so the mayor is also able to put time limits on certain aspects of the discussion so that we're not here until 2 o'clock in the morning trying to get something done. Let's see. Votes. We do roll call votes typically. You can do voice votes, such as, hey, to the time you go home, we can do a voice vote. Abstention. We're going to make this really clear on abstentions. Abstentions are typically for purposes of conflict of interest.